today's edition of MRC. We'll start off in Russia with correspondent Claire Montgomery telling us about Russia's President Putin, who is threatening nuclear weapons to the U.S. and the West. Off to you, Claire.
Well, on Thursday, February 28th, Russia's President Vladimir Putin threatened the West with weapons, even saying Russia had, quote, an invincible intercontinental cruise missile and a nuclear torpedo that could outsmart all American defenses. When Putin made this presentation, which included videos of missiles aimed at Florida, specifically at Mar-a-Lago Resort, where President Trump usually stays, it sharply escalated the military feud and the tense relationship between the United States and Russia, and may even lead to a nuclear arms race. Putin could be bluffing about these weapons. However, experts suggest that he has these weapons because Putin focused on American vulnerabilities in their defense system. He focused on the fact that American defense systems are based on the assumption that enemy nuclear missiles, quote, fly high and can be destroyed way before they reach their targets.
Russia claims to have successfully tested an invincible missile. The government released the footage of the launch, which appears to show a military jet carrying a missile. Some parts of the missile in the video were blurred. The ministry said that the weapon hit its assigned target at the training ground. Earlier this month, Russian President Vladimir Putin said Russia had developed a new invincible missile.
So while these weapons may not be real, Putin is not fooling around. At the end of his speech, he stated, "Nobody listened to Russia. Well, listen up now." From Moscow, this is Claire Montgomery. Back to you, Maddie.
To Rachel, who's reporting about the mass protests in Slovakia because of political corruption.
Reporting from Slovakia, here is Rachel Stevens.
Tens of thousands of Slovaks joined an anti-government protest in the capital Bratislava. Estimates put the crowd size at more than 40,000 people in what is thought to be the largest protest in the country since the fall of communism. This protest on Friday was prompted by the murder of journalist Jan Kuciak and his fiancée Martina Kusnirova. Kuciak, 27, had been investigating alleged political corruption. His final unfinished story was published after his death in late February, causing public anger against the government. Many protesters carried signs calling for the government of Prime Minister Robert Fico to step down. Others carried bundles of keys they shook to create a jingling noise, which was also used in the mass protests against communism in 1989, known as the Velvet Revolution. Mr. Kuciak's murder, the first targeted killing of a journalist in the country's history, has already prompted a wave of smaller protests, marches, and vigils. A number of people mentioned in Mr. Kuciak's last unfinished article were detained by police in the aftermath of his death, but all were later released and no one is in custody at the moment. This is Rachel Stevens reporting from MRC and from Bratislava. Back to you.
Local news, here is Ann Scott.
Longmont High School won the boys 4A state title with a game-winning three in the final seconds. In a tie game with just 12.5 seconds left on the clock, the Longmont junior Oakley Denning hit a game-winning three-pointer from the right wing to lift his team to a state championship, as the Trojans beat Lewis Palmer 62-59 in the 4A boys basketball title. Quote, Longmont built a 16-point lead in the third quarter before the Rangers came roaring back. Joel Scott, who finished with 24 points, took over for Lewis Palmer down the stretch. He completed an epic comeback with a steal and a layup, and transitioned to tie the game with under a minute to go. That's when Denning, who is also the quarterback of the Longmont football team, came through in a moment he'll remember for the rest of his life. When the clock was winding down, Brady Rink beat his defender on the way to his lane, where the fence collapsed, and on the kick out, Denning was alone in the corner. He caught the pass and drilled the go-ahead three-pointer to send the packed Longmont student section into a frenzy. From Denver, Colorado, I'm Ann Scott.
Beginning of the year, we were predicted to be fourth at best in the Northern Conference. And these young men went on a journey. And the journey, we didn't know where it was going to take us. But we knew with the hard work that we put forth that we could be pretty special.
10-second trivia. Which state was ranked the highest for their healthcare, education, economy, opportunity, and quality of life for 2018? Kansas, Iowa, California, or Colorado? It's B, Iowa.
Mark. And I'm Carrie Bradshaw. Some states are really good in healthcare, others are good in education, some are good at both, and some are good at none. Quote, the best states ranking of U.S. state draws on thousands of data points to measure how well states are performing for their citizens. In addition to healthcare and education, meaning schools, the metrics takes into account a state's economy, the opportunity, and quality of life it offers to people. Certain things based off of a survey. The things that were given the most weight were healthcare and education, followed by, quote, economies, the opportunity states offer their citizens and infrastructure. Crime and corrections followed closely in the weighting, followed by measures of government, physical stability, and people's quality of life. Quote, here are the top 10 2018. 1, Iowa. 2, Minnesota. 3, Utah. 4, North Dakota. 5, New Hampshire. 6, Washington. 7, Nebraska. 8, Massachusetts. 9, Vermont. And 10, Colorado.
Woo woo!
Number 1, Iowa's capital is Des Moines. They are most known for their corn and agricultural products, and some famous Iowans are John Wayne and Buffalo Bill Cody. 2, Minnesota's capital is St. Paul. They are most famous for their lakes and the Mall of America. Some famous Minnesotans are Bob Dylan, who is a singer, and Charles Schultz, who created Peanuts. 3, Utah's capital is Salt Lake City. They are most known for rock formations in Great Salt Lake. Some famous Utahns are Brigham Young, who is a religious leader. Number 4, North Dakota's capital is Bismarck. They are most known for the Badlands and Roosevelt National Park. Some famous North Dakotans are Phil Jackson, who is a basketball player and coach. Number 5, New Hampshire's capital is Concord. They are most known for White Mountain National Forest. Some famous New Hampshireites are Robert Frost, who is a poet. 6, Washington's capital is Olympia. They are most known for Mount St. Helens and the Space Needle. Someone famous from Washington is Bill Gates, the Microsoft founder. Number 7, Nebraska's capital is Lincoln. They are most known for their corn and Chimney Rock. Some famous Nebraskans are Marlon Brando and Johnny Carson, who's a TV host. 8, Massachusetts' capital is Boston. They are most known for Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, and Harvard University. Some famous Massachusetts are John Adams and Susan B. Anthony. Number 9, Vermont's capital is Montpelier. They are most famous for their ski resorts and maple syrup. Some famous Vermonters are Calvin Coolidge, who is the president. Number 10, Colorado's capital is Denver. They are most known for being the Mile High City, and someone famous from there is Tim Allen, an actor.
Olympic ice skaters Evgenia Medvedeva, an 18-year-old, and Alina Zagitova, a 15-year-old, were neck and neck together this Olympics to win gold. In figure skating, you get more points if you do your tricks in the second half of your performance because you're more tired. Both Medvedeva and Zagitova are talented skaters, but Zagitova sneakily came up with a plan to save her complex jumps to the end for more points. Zagitova ended up taking home gold, barely beating Medvedeva. The total score was 239.57 to 238.26 in the end. Zagitova and Medvedeva share the same coach. They both started figure skating when they were very young. Zagitova and Medvedeva both have parents involved with skating. And Zagitova won the European Championship while Medvedeva was recovering from an injury. There was a sneaky plan and won gold, while it left Medvedeva feeling pretty cold. She did her tricks late, leaving her skate mate full of hate from the plan she did create. Although her plan was brilliant, it was also risky. She was skating on thin ice. Because she won gold, she had an ice day. Here at MRC, we hope you have an excellent rest of your day.